Hello everybody, this is Howard, Teaser King, coming to you with week 6 of the NFL. And our lock hit nicely on Monday night. Seattle, we had them with Michigan State, and I had them in a couple other teasers. And that's the key to the locks. That's why I locked them. Those are the ones with the most confidence. Those are the ones that you want to play for a lot more money, and you want to play in several teasers. That's really the key to betting teasers. You can't play 2 teasers for $50 each. You're going to win 3 games and lose 1, and you're going to break even and lose the juice. By getting a lock or getting a very strong play, you might bet 1 teaser for $50 and 1 teaser for $200. And the one team that you lock, like Seattle last week, you put them in 3 teasers. You put them in a lock for $200. You put them in another couple for $100. And then if you lose the minor games and then you win the major, you win the lock game or the big game, even though you might go 3-3, or no, let's say you have 4 winners and 2 losers, but you hit the lock and you had them in the big teasers, you're going to win a lot of money going 4-2, which is, a lousy percentage. So that's the key, and that's why I sell the locks, and that's why I recommend playing the lock in multiple teasers for more money than certain games. I mean, you can play all the games, but some have higher risk and higher reward. Or there's really not extra reward for high risk betting football like there is in business. I can take a risk on something. I can play craps and I could play the 10 and the 4, and I get high odds on them, and they hit. Well, I get rewarded. I get high odds. Or I might play in roulette number 23, and I get big odds for it. But in football, there's no reward for taking a high risk. So I don't play high risk plays. I'm playing low risk plays, and I'm trying to bet more on the low risk plays. And the lower the risk, that's when it's a lock. When it's almost like this is 98%. Seattle, Washington, the trend against Washington is I think it's 19 or 20-1 now, the last 22 games. So you played a teaser against Washington, you won 20 of them. That's a 98% trend there, something 96, 95. It's a strong trend, especially with the Seattle team. I mean, you got to know who to play it against. It's hard to play Washington, Arizona, because Arizona, who's their quarterback? Now, if Carson Palmer was their quarterback and Washington's playing at Arizona, that's a lock. That's 100% because I'm betting against Washington, and Arizona is great against the number, especially at home. That would be a lock. But without Carson Palmer, there's more risk. Without Drew Stanton, there's more risk. If Logan Thomas plays, he's terrible. I don't know what he's doing in the NFL. He was terrible in college at Virginia Tech. I don't get it. I don't get they drafted him, and I don't get they play him. I mean, you watch the guy in college, he's terrible. What makes you think he's going to be a good pro? I don't understand that. So anyway, that's my point. So you got to be very, that's what brings up the risk, the injuries, the other quarterbacks. So that's what I try to be careful of. I have 2 locks in pros. One of the locks I have is with the college. So it's a college lock pro and a pro. Extremely strong picks. Just strong locks. They're very strong. Now you got to remember, the locks are like pocket aces in poker. You're using an analogy. So you get pocket aces, you go, I'm going to win. Well, that's what these locks are. They do lose, but if you keep playing, if you keep getting pocket aces, you're going to win 90% of the time. And that's the whole point of the locks. You can't lose one and you can't stop. You can't get worried. You gotta do it. I've had a guy who bought from me and he played the lock and the lock lost, and that's it. And it's like you try to tell him, you got to play the percentage. If you play 10 locks, you're going to win probably 9 of them. Maybe 8, but you're going to win 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. You're going to lose one, but the point is you just keep playing them. So it's hard to do that. You've got to play my percentage. When you buy from me, play my percentage. Just keep pounding it and keep pounding it. We'll be okay. Don't get all hung up on 1 week. Going forward, I'm not going to have any more losing weeks, as I noted in my college one. This is it. I'm getting tired and pissed that I had a losing week last week, picking all the winners and letting a couple of teams, I put in a couple of teasers. But at least I won the locks and the bigger game, so that made me feel good. All right. Well, I had Indy last night. They were getting 3.5 or 3, but they won easy. They made it close at the end, but it was a great score, because even if Houston scored and it was 35-33, we're getting 3.5, so it was still, you could sit back and light the cigar early. Let me see, I can't talk about that. It's a lock. Alright, Detroit plays Mini. The dog in this series for the last 10 years is 18-2. This is a 90% trend. Minnesota's now gone favorite. Detroit, I loved Minnesota when Detroit was favored. Now Minnesota's favored. I don't love Detroit as much, but again, this is a situation. You got Calvin Johnson out, Reggie Bush out. Stafford's terrible without him, and he's terrible with him. You got Minnesota they don't even have a quarterback. Bridgewater might play. You can't trust him. And then I had just a Ponder out there, and he's terrible. I don't know what he's doing in the NFL. So basically, you have that. It's a dog play, but you want more than a touchdown. So if Mini goes to 1.5, take Detroit. If Detroit goes back to 1.5, take Minnesota. Play the dog in this matchup. More than likely, you want to play Minnesota as the dog than Detroit as the dog. But the dog is the play, 18-2. I talked about Arizona, Washington. Arizona is the play, but we got to see who the quarterback is. You can't play with Logan Thomas. Although I still think Arizona will win with the defense, and I think they'll win with the special teams. I think Arizona still wins the game, but if Logan Thomas is the quarterback, they're just going to run the ball. I mean, it'll be a nightmare. What can I give you? So many strong plays. All right, Cleveland laying 2 to Pittsburgh. This is a very good play on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh getting 7.5. The dog in this series is 9-1 the last 10. Pittsburgh's 8-2 the last 10. This is a Pittsburgh play. This is what I call a weak favorite. Cleveland's a weak favorite. What I mean by that is that they probably won't win the game, and they're favored. Pittsburgh is a little weaker this year. And they've got some injuries. They still got Roethlisberger. They're not a playoff team per se, which is unusual for Pittsburgh. But neither is Cleveland, and Cleveland is favored in this game, and they're never favored against Pittsburgh, and they know that they're favored. Pittsburgh knows Cleveland's favored, and they're not happy with it. So at this point, Cleveland was a 2.5 down to 1.5 or 2. Take Pittsburgh in the points. They won't lose by a lot if they lose at all. But I do like Pittsburgh here. Let me give you one other live dog. Philly laying 3 to the Giants. Dog here is 19-3. Enough said. Giants are 9-2 in Philly. The dog's 10-1 the last 11. The dog's 19-3 in the series. Philly's not that strong as a home favorite, although they're better this year at covering. But they're not really a blowout team. Even last week they had the Rams. The Rams crept back into it. Like the Giants at 9, this is one of those division rivalries where they play each other twice a year. So they're familiar. New York's playing much better than they did in the beginning. Take New York in the 9. I'll give you one more. Frisco laying 3 to St. Louis. Take Frisco plus the 3. Frisco is 17-3 in a teaser against the Cards. 9-1 the last 10. And they play St. Louis very well. they're a better road favorite than a home favorite. They're turning out where they're not, because Kaepernick's an average quarterback and he wants to run. What you have is Frisco being a better. They're not that strong as a home favorite. There's a little bit too much money on them, and I had them. I had Philly and Kansas City. Normally I'd have played Frisco, but Frisco at home, laying 5, I'd bet them to win. But in this case, they're not better. They're not much better than Philly, and they're not much better than Kansas City. In this case, they are better than St. Louis, and they'll get the win. You're getting 3 points, which helps, but Frisco should win this game straight up. This is the type of game they win. They hate St. Louis from the days when they were the Rams. So definitely like that. Just the big trends. And that's what we like. So we're getting big trends. I gave you 3 huge dog trends. Now last night you had double trends. You had Houston 10-0 at home, and you had Indy 14-2 as the favorite in the series. So it was a double trend. You could take Houston 10-0. You could take Indy 14-2. And I just chose Indy because if you bet against Houston, they're 17-1. I'm going to give you a little bit of help. The teams that you play, in other words, you take the teaser down. So, you know, let's say Indy was favored by 7. When I say play, it takes Indy down to 1. If I say play against whoever Indy's playing, you take plus the 13. So these are the play teams. Cincinnati, Denver, Seattle, San Diego, and Arizona are at least 85% their last year and a half versus the number. These are the play against teams. Atlanta, Washington, Tennessee, Houston, and Oakland. So those 5 teams are 85% or more against the trend. So, for example, you had Houston, and that's why I played Indy also. If you go against Houston, so you took Indy plus the 3.5, there you go. You bet against Houston and you won, and that was the idea. So that's a little bit of Teaser King trend analysis for you. But you got to be careful. I mean, Arizona is one of these. They're like 87%, but you've got to be careful. And this is where the art comes in. They got injuries. They got their quarterbacks are out. So therefore, if Drew Stanton plays, then maybe you play Arizona. If he doesn't play and you got Logan Thomas, you can't play it. It's too much risk because you don't know how good Logan Thomas is. And the trend isn't with Logan Thomas at quarterback. It's with Carson Palmer and Drew Stanton at quarterback. So you got to be careful with the trend. Like in Detroit, Minnesota, it's a lock if everybody's, you know, if Minnesota's favored by 3 here, and Calvin Johnson's playing or Reggie Bush is playing and the Lions are playing well, it's a lock taking Detroit 9. Conversely, if Adrian Peterson's playing and you know they're at full strength and Detroit's favored by 1.5, it's a lock to take Minnesota. If everybody's healthy, this is a lock whoever the dog is. But with the injuries becomes more risk, and the 98% trend goes down to about 80. It's more risk, but you don't get any more reward with the risk. So that's why I'm not locking Detroit, Minnesota. I might play it depending on what the number ends up. I prefer taking Minnesota in the points because I know how Detroit is, but it should be a close game. You take the dog, but again, we got to get more than 1. So we'll see what happens there. That's about it. Teams like Jacksonville, Tennessee, it's like it's not even worth talking about. They're terrible teams. That's about it. I talked about Washington, Arizona. So I gave you a few of my picks. Like I said, I have 2 locks, 2 strong teams. A few more. So I have let me see, I'm going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to play 10 pro teams, and I could play a couple more if Detroit or Minnesota becomes a 3-point favorite. That'll be another team. Now I'm going to spread my locks out into various ones, and I'm going to play, sometimes I play my strong college. Like, I could play Michigan State easily with my lock, or my second lock. I could play them with the New York Giants. I could play them with Pittsburgh. I play the best teams and put them together, and then I try to put Michigan State in 2 or 3 teasers. That's how you win. If you're very confident on the team, put them in 2, 3 teasers, and that's the key to it. That's how you make money. Right now, I'm just losing that. I'm overvaluing, like last week, Texas A&M against Mississippi State, or the Bears and the Packers is normally a dog, and then Cutler throws 2 interceptions, but I have him in 2 teasers, so it kills 2 teasers, and that's what's been happening. I've been getting kind of unlucky where I'm putting this. I'll hit 8 games, and I'll have I'll go 8-2, but the 2 losers are in 2 or 3 teasers, and you just got to be careful. But the way I pick and the law of averages and the way my odds are, that's not going to happen. That's not going to keep happening. It's just been a strange thing. But not this week. This week's gold. This week will be huge. I would recommend buying my. I'd buy the whole week. I'd buy both pro and college. You get the locks with that, and I think that would be the best bet. And I think this is the week to buy it. Very strong. I mean, you can see what's happening too in the pros. There's teams that need the game. Like I've been locking Indianapolis because they were 0-2. They had to win, and they're playing Jacksonville, and then they're playing Tennessee. But they have to win, and they're a good team. They got a good quarterback. So therefore, I've been pounding Indy because they have to. Now they're in first place. They'll start letting up a little, but you still pound them. And that's what you're looking for, is that team that kind of needs it. They've lost, and now they need to win. But you got to be careful, because sometimes, most of the time that's good. Just sometimes, like New Orleans needed to win. For some reason, they're just terrible. So you've got to note that. A bad team that needs to win is different than a good team that needs to win. A good team that's just had some bad luck or had a bad schedule, like Indy lost to Philly and Denver. I mean, 2 very good teams. So for them to do that, and then they get a Jacksonville and Tennessee, they're going to pound them. But if a team's weak, like Tampa, and they lose, well, they need the game, but you can't bet them because they're not a strong team. I can't bet Jacksonville. They're 0-4. They have to win because they're so bad they probably won't win. But a team like Denver after a loss, Seattle after a loss, I don't know, San Francisco maybe after a loss, Green Bay after a loss. Some of these teams after a loss are going to play very strong. Look at New England. They lost to Kansas City, and then they pounded Cincinnati. So you just, you get a superstar and he loses, they're going to get pissed, and that's what you want to bet on. Anyway, that's it for this week. I highly recommend buying it. Buy the locks. You can go that route if you just want to buy the locks, and then you have, I know you guys look at the games, and you can ask me, buy the locks, put it in. You're going to get 2 locks. You're going to get 2 different plays. And then you can say, yeah, I like Michigan State. I'm going to put the lock with Michigan State. You could put, with Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Giants. So you can put the locks with multiple teams, which is what I recommend, and just spread out your money that way. But I would at least buy the locks. But the pros this week are huge. College, 4 real strong plays. Definitely look into those. But this is the week that you start getting. You've got. Let's put it this way: the beginning of the year in college, there's a lot more risk because you don't know the player. Now you start understanding. I knew Mississippi was good. You had questions with Alabama's quarterback. I knew Auburn was good. I knew Baylor was good. But then certain teams you don't know. All of a sudden Oregon can't play. Stanford, how good's Notre Dame? Michigan's, well, I knew Michigan would be terrible, but Ohio State loses their quarterback, Braxton Miller. How good are they going to be? Where in the pros, yeah, the first 2 weeks, I think it's all because of the training camp. These guys don't play in the fourth exhibition game. They always used to play in the fourth exhibition game. They come in, they're all winded, they're not ready. The first week's a joke. You don't get a real good tell on anybody. Maybe the second week, but by the third or fourth week, now you got everything down. But now you got to look at the injuries and stuff like that. So you got to be very careful, cognizant of the injury, but also the trend. So now that you have all that in there, you have a lot less risk because you see you know what teams you can trust. What, like New Orleans, before I would have said, oh yeah, no, I don't know, they're not that good, and you know who you can bet on. So the Giants were weak the first couple of weeks. Now they're playing much better. I can trust them against Philadelphia. In the beginning of the year, I couldn't have, but now that they've got settled in, I can trust the Giants getting points. I should be able to trust Pittsburgh getting points, and that's what makes less risk. And that's what you want to do when you're betting sports. You don't get rewarded for taking a high risk. That's why I try to stay with solid teams. That's why I don't play the Jacksonville, Tennessee game. There's too much risk. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. There's so many better games. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Good luck to you. Please buy my picks. You won't regret it this week. Huge week, and I got some huge weeks coming. I'm going to Vegas next weekend. I'll bet both weeks there, and it'll be huge. I will do my YouTube. I'm going Friday. I'll do my YouTube next Thursday. I will check my emails there, so please email me if you have questions. But definitely strong locks. And I got 4 strong college, 4 strong pros, really huge ones. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. www.teaserking.com. All right, take care, everybody.